Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Fantasy Trifecta. Going with video today, no audio. I was going to record a pod yesterday for my UFC thoughts, my most up-to-date. There's been some more news today, but I was exhausted from the week, hit the hay early, and I just want to share my thoughts on the UFC on this video here, and then also NBA as well. We got an NBA slate here coming up in about 2 hours, so I want to share my thoughts on that as well as MMA. So I'm going to do MMA first since there's less news about it. So since I last did the pod for MMA, it was my first glance picks analysis, but I've been doing more research since, and more news has happened, so I thought I'd share my most up-to-date thoughts on the card that's happening here in about 2.5 hours when I'm recording this now. So since the last time I had released the pod, the scrap between Pedro Munoz and John Dodson has been canceled. Munoz missed weight by a few pounds. Dodson declined to fight him. It's unfortunate. That would have been a good scrap. It was a co-main event, so the bout between Valentina Shevchenko and her opponent, who I always forget how to pronounce her name, Priscilla Cochiera, is now the co-main event. That's interesting that way. I would like to see that fight. It's always sad to see when a fight gets scrapped from a card because it just, you want to get a full length of fights, but that was one of the better fights on the card. It's sad to see it go. And then also news that I got via the Bloody Elbow. The bout between Michel Prazeres and Desmond Green is in jeopardy. So Prazeres missed weight again. Desmond Green still wanted to fight him, so they're, as of now, they're fighting. But I was reading something on Bloody Elbow. You could look at the article. I just retweeted it about 5 minutes ago since I recorded this. So if you want to go through my timeline and look, if you don't believe my verbiage. So it's in jeopardy. I guess Prazeres has missed weight so many times. He's a big dude for a lightweight. That if he doesn't weigh in below 173 pounds prior to fighting today, that bout is scrapped, and Desmond Green doesn't even have the option to accept it or decline it. I guess it's a penalty to Prazeres for missing weight so many times. And not only does he have to weigh below 173 pounds, but they're also going to evaluate his health. If his health isn't up to standards of what they're looking for, what those standards are, I don't really know, then that fight is scrapped as well. So it's like there's two contingencies here. And so the way to handle this is if you want to take a lot of risk, because it is earlier, 3 hours before the fight, when this news was released. So I'm sure more and more people will find out about it rather than it being a last minute thing. So if you have a high risk tolerance, play that fight. But just for that fight in general, I don't see it. I think that there's a decent chance it doesn't score highly. Could it score highly? Sure, it's MMA. But I think for that risk combined with the fact that there's a decent chance it doesn't score highly, I'm going to pivot off of the fight. I implore you to do the same, but you can do whatever you want. It's your money, your lineup, so have at it. But that's where I'm at with that. I don't think anytime there's a fight in jeopardy of being scrapped, especially post lineup lock, you can't do a late swap like you can in NFL or anything like that. So MMA is like the NBA slates. Once the first game happens, it's locked. You can't change it. So I don't think it's worth the risk. So do what you want there. I gave out some fights that I'm interested in as well that I don't think will be super popular. Some fighters that I've kind of come around to that I think have more potential to score highly than I initially gave them credit for, that I want to talk about, that we could play in place of those fights, because one fight's been scratched and another one as well. So one of which I think is Tim Means versus Sergio Moraes. I'm under the impression that Moraes might be one of the more popular underdog plays, especially considering that Munoz is gone and then Green potentially gone as well. Green's almost the favorite. He is the favorite on some exchanges, or it's near pick'em. He's not the favorite quite yet, but it's like plus 100 everywhere. So I'd have to imagine he's going to be fairly popular at 7,600. But I think Moraes is okay, but I definitely like Means here. Tim Means is a good fighter. I think that people are looking at his last few fights. Yeah, he disappointed. He didn't look good in the rematch versus Oliveira. But I think that he could smoke Moraes here. If this fight stays standing, I think Means, he has the bigger reach advantage. He lands more volume, and I think he's a more dangerous striker. And he's more technical, too. So I like Means a lot. For a low ownership, he's right above Marcelo Gome, who I think will be fairly popular, and below Eric Anders. I think at a low ownership, high upside, I like Tim Means. I think that there's like a small path where if the fight stays competitive enough, Moraes might get the nod in Brazil, but I don't want to think like that. I don't want to think like that knowing that Means is over a 2-1 favorite. He is minus 219 on BetDSI, minus 205 in Bookmaker. Like, he's a pretty sizable favorite. And I don't know. I don't think like Moraes is as threatening of an opponent as his previous ones were. I think Means is better standing everywhere pretty much. If this fight does hit the ground, I'm a little worried, honestly, because Moraes is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Means has been submitted before in the past. But I like Means' takedown defense. If you look at the stat on UFC.com, it's like around 60%, but I've seen Means get taken down, but he gets right back up. He's able to get right back up, uses like legs to push his opponent off, and then just kind of get back to his feet. So I like that about him. He's hard to take down, and when he does get taken down, it's hard to gain position on him. So I like Means a lot as a replacement for Prazeres and Dodson. I've already kind of said I like Gome. I'm probably going to fade Timothy Johnson. I think this is a bad spot for him. Yes, I know his odds are one of the better ones for underdogs, but you got to plant your flag somewhere, and that's probably a place I'm going to do it. What else? Hadzovic and Patrick. I like that fight a lot, actually, because I think if Hadzovic wins, it could be by a knockout. I'm under the impression that he has a big advantage standing. We saw what he did against Marcin Held. He doesn't quit in fights. I like that. He was getting dominated the first 2 rounds. Well, not dominated in the first, but definitely dominated in the second. Came back in the third round with a knee. So I like that about him. I like that he has a big advantage on the feet. And Patrick I like too, because Patrick I don't think will be popular. I think Hadzovic will be more popular. People will target that side of the fight, being that he's a cheap underdog, one that people are under the impression could win. But I like Patrick too, because Patrick, if he wins, I have to think it's going to be grappling based. Patrick is taken down and dominated guys like Stevie Ray and Damian Brown, guys that I think are decent, not great, but I don't know how good Hadzovic is. I don't think he's a great fighter. It's kind of hard to tell. He's only been in the UFC for 2 fights, but he looks decent. So I think Patrick is in play as well. I prefer Hadzovic for the price savings, but I think Patrick is in play for a low ownership too. So, and this is kind of the problem with the fight pool getting narrower and narrower, because just people are going to come onto the same chalk. Like, I think Gome is going to be more popular. Santos, Smith, maybe. Like, I don't know. It just makes the guys that were popular initially more popular. I don't like when fights get scrapped. That's just something I don't love. So yeah, I definitely like Anders here. I favor him. I think he's the rightful favorite in this matchup. Could he lose? Sure, but I'm just going to plant my flag that he wins. Shevchenko 2. Huge favorite, minus 1,200 on Sportsbook. So, hey, I mean, she's the biggest favorite on card for a reason. I still do like Vienna. I said initially, I think if you're making 10 lineups, player in 1, but I do think you can play more than one. She's got one of the better inside the distance lines on the card. I don't think she'll be popular. Price below Santos, above Anders. She's just kind of sandwiched in between fighters that I think will be more popular. She's making her debut too, so I don't think many people know who she is. So I think she's squarely in play. Player in a few lineups. Don't play her in just one. I'm probably gonna have more than the field of her. I do think that she's a good tournament play. What else? These like mid-range fights I kind of like too, because I don't think they'll be popular, because people are like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know who's gonna win. So they like panic and are like, no, I don't want to play it. But I like this Figueiredo Soto fight. I think there will be more grappling. It's recency bias is a real thing. You know, Alcantara looked awful in his last fight, but Soto has been submitted a lot. I do think Soto's kind of an overachiever, I think, a little bit. I think people will look at the fact that he went 5 rounds with Dillashaw. He got finished by Dillashaw in the 5th round, but I think that people like that he went 5 rounds with him in a title fight on short notice, and then also that he beat Hani Yahya in Brazil. But I think Alcantara's a bit better. Alcantara, I don't think will be popular. I just think people won't trust him. I like Soto too. It's a mid-range fight. I think that both guys had the capability of scoring highly, so for that reason, I think both guys are in play. Vera de Andrade is kind of the one I'm not sure on the most of the 3. Other one being Figueiredo Morales. I think I prefer Vera a bit more. His odds are increasing a bit. He's training at a better camp now, and I think people will game log watch and be like, oh, his upside's not so great. But for 8.3K, I mean, what does he need to get you? Like 83 plus points to like really meet value? I mean, you could do that here. You could do it with a submission. You could do it with a finish maybe. So yeah, I think Vera's in play too. And De Andrade, I don't think he's that great, but I don't think the same thing about Vera. So I think De Andrade is in play too if you're making multiple lineups. These guys both those guys are kind of multiple lineup type of plays, not one if you're making 1 to 3 or 1. And then Figueiredo Morales, I'm starting to like both sides. Flyweight fights, just kind of in general, you want to target. They're the smallest weight class. They have cardio for days, generally speaking. There could be a lot of grappling exchanges, reverses, advances, takedowns. That all adds up scoring-wise on DraftKings. There was a fight I was on previously. Tim Elliott scored 175 points in a decision. That's unreal. He landed 12 takedowns and 14 passes or something crazy, and his opponent scored 60 points in a loss. I mean, that's not. I'm not going to say that's going to definitely happen here, but like it could happen. You don't see that type of scoring in any other weight class, so that's why I kind of like that fight. I think that there will be grappling here. If I'm wrong on that, then I'm wrong on that. But I do think that there's some grappling here. Morales trains with Team Alpha Male. That's a very good camp that has emphasis on wrestling, and Figueiredo is a black. I think I don't know if he's black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he's a high pedigree submission grappler. So I think grappling is in play here, and I like that. That's enough of that. Let's talk about some NBA. We got an interesting slate here. So I'm actually going to play both slates, I believe. I'm going to play the one that starts here at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then also the other one that starts at 8. So I think just like these weekend contests, like I like it when it's a smaller GPP pool, and more likelihood to come in first. Like, yeah, did I come in first last weekend? No, but like the opportunity's there. I think it's more likely to come in first place. We like to come in first place. Yeah, it's cool to win first place with 100,000 people in the contest, but that's like thinking the lottery, man. I mean, if you win that, great, but like that's just more luck than skill in my opinion. So if you want to do that, good on you, but that's just not my style. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. We got Miami taking on Detroit. I'm glad I didn't kind of release the pod on this game because I didn't really know what I was talking about here. I was just kind of like glancing at the prices and I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are actually reasonably priced. So going off that, skipping some time, these guys are reasonably priced for this matchup. I actually like Andre Drummond a lot. 8.5 I think is way too cheap. I know Blake Griffin is on the team, but I still think that he's too cheap at that price tag. Andre Drummond, a guy that we've seen, he's even getting assists now, blocks, rebounds, steals, points, obviously. Like, he kind of is a do-it-all center. So I think he'll be less popular than Jokic, too. I think people look at Jokic's last game against Golden State because it's right on the game log that you could look there. And he's cheaper than Jokic, and I think he could outscore Jokic. So for a cheaper price tag, a lower ownership, I think, I like Drummond a lot, actually. So Drummond's definitely in play, one of my favorite plays on the slate. Griffin, I liked him a lot better when he was 7,900. He did well for me in that spot. I wish I played him with Jokic on that slate because I would have skyrocketed me to first place, but I had to pass on Jokic for Pau Gasol, didn't I? So yeah, I do think Griffin, though, has the upside in this matchup. Him and Drummond should see the bulk of the usage on this team. There's no Hassan Whiteside on Miami's side of the ball. I should have opened up with that. So I think there's more opportunity for rebounds, and I think that there's just a better opportunity for both guys to score offensively. Whiteside's not a great defender, but he's a good rim protector. So I think that the opportunity is definitely there for Griffin. I like Drummond a little bit more, but Griffin's in play too, just from the positional standpoint. What else? Josh Richardson, yeah, he's a little too cheap, but I don't love this matchup for him. I actually like the value plays a lot more. Kelly Olynyk, Bam Bam, I think that's what people are calling him. Adebayo. Whiteside's out, so who's going to get the usage? Those two guys, I have to think. I don't think that Tyler Johnson and Dragic will be popular. If you're making multiple lineups, play them. Whiteside is out, but doesn't mean the big men are going to get all the usage that he misses. Whiteside takes a lot of shots. I don't know what the deal with him is. I don't know if they're trying to trade him or what, but his minutes are just crazy volatile, like worse than Nurkic almost. But I don't know what else to say, but that's just all theory. Who knows? So yeah, I like both guys too, but I prefer the two big guys. They're cheaper. Bam is only 3,800. I think he's in play in all formats. If you're a cash games player, I just throw a little shindigs about cash games here and there. I don't play cash, but I just thought I'd help you out there if you're doing it. I also think Olenek is in play too. Prefer Bam Bam for the price discount. We saw Bam Bam. I think he'll be more popular, but rightfully so. I think it's hard for him to fail on the spot. Detroit plays big, so they're going to need both guys out there. They're going to have lineups out there that help stop them. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that game. Next game, we've got Philadelphia taking on Indiana. This game is fairly high-paced, but not a ton of fantasy goodness, to be honest. Miles Turner's questionable. Keep an eye on that. I think if he plays and he's a full go, I think he's in play, but I think that there's just better spots from a roster construction standpoint, but for a low ownership, I think he's in play. 6,100, a little too cheap. If he's out, I think you could definitely look back to Sabonis, or we could look back to Sabonis. 5,700. Yeah, I just think that's a great price if Turner is out. I also think Oladipo is just a little too cheap. Like 8,400. He finally had that big game that we were looking for. Took 21 shots. Yeah, he made 11 of them. People might say it's a fluke thing or whatever, but I do think that he definitely has upside for that price. He's like the highest usage guy on this team. And yeah, I mean, why not play Oladipo? I think he's definitely in play. Other than that, that'll pretty much do it for this game. I'm going to try and like fly through these guys. I just think that for the sake of time, that's the best way to go, because I talked about MMA for like the first 10 minutes, and I want this content to be out there. Washington against Orlando. John Wall still out. Aaron Gordon out. Vucevic is listed as questionable, but I think he's not supposed to play. Going through non-cut. I don't think he plays, but keep an eye on that. He's listed as questionable for a reason, so that's better than out. So keep an eye on Vucevic. If he's out, Gordon's out too. I think we could definitely look back to Spates. Spates did me well the other day. He's just chucking up shots for 4,200. I think he's in play in all formats. Could he fail? Sure. But I think for the salary savings, we kind of should look to go to him. But Bam Bam and Olenek are other options too. You could play all three of them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, yeah, like him in this spot if Vucevic is out, that is. People might look to go to Peyton in this spot. Yeah, he did well last game, but it was against the Lakers, and he only played 24 minutes. I know it was a blowout, but come on. I mean, he should have played his fourth quarter run is just weird. Like, he doesn't play the fourth quarter sometimes. If I want to pay that price tag for a guy, I want him out there for the fourth quarter. Like in theory, that the game is competitive. So yeah, I don't know that I love Peyton. I think there's guys that we'll talk about that are priced cheaper that I'd rather go to. Even on his team, I think Simmons is in play if Vucevic is out. He's a little too cheap. He hasn't done well the past few games, but if you're making like 10 lineups, throw him in one. It's a good way to take advantage of recency bias. The usage will be there. He does see a decent amount of minutes. He didn't see it last game, but go back 2 games ago, Houston 35. So I think Simmons, if you're making like 15, 20 lineups, you could throw him in one. And then also another guy that's really interesting is Biyombo. It wasn't that long ago when people were playing him when he was 6K. Now he's 5'2". I like him here. I mean, why not? He's got that block, that double-double upside. But again, Vucevic has to be ruled out. Then I think we could consider Biyombo. I just think it's like weird. He's now cheap, and he's going to be at a low ownership, yet I don't think many people will play him. That is the lineup for... Okay, so Vucevic is out from what it looks like, because I just got the lineup. Peyton, Fournier, Simmons, Spades, Biyombo. So there you go. Perfect timing. Yeah, so Hazonia, I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on everybody else pretty much. Washington, people might look to go to Beal and Porter and Morris, but I think they're a little too pricey. There's guys that I think are priced below them that could outscore them price per dollar. My favorite's probably Morris of the bunch because he's the cheapest. I think he draws a decent matchup here. I mean, they're all in good spots, right? Washington's in a good spot. Orlando plays pace up. They play bad defense, so I think you could play them. But for a high ownership, for a higher price tag than they usually are, I don't know if I want to go there 100%, but we'll see how the roster construction shakes out. And yeah, Mike Scott's questionable. You got to keep an eye out on that. If he's out, then I think Morris is more in play. Porter too. Yeah, I think Beal's just a little too expensive for my liking, so probably going to pass there. Yeah, that'll do it for that game. Next game's a lot more interesting. We got Houston taking on Cleveland. Kevin Love is out. Eric Gordon is out on Houston's side of the ball. So is Ariza. So I think this is a good spot to play Gerald Green. This is one of the guys I was alluding to that's priced cheaper than Morrison Porter that could go off. He took 13 shots last game. Yes, he missed 4 of them, but Cleveland is really bad on defense. This is a high-paced game. I think this is a spot he could excel in. No Eric Gordon, no Ariza. The opportunity's there. He could get steals, points, rebounds, block. Green's mainly relying on the shot, but I like him here. I like him a lot, actually. And I also like, on the other side of the ball, Isaiah Thomas, a guy that's priced cheaper than Payton, that his minutes are safer, and this is a good spot, too. He scored 33 points last game, but only went 2 of 15. I actually like that, because what if he made even a third of his shots? He would have crushed value. He made value at 6K despite shooting horrendously. And Houston is a team that doesn't play great defense. I think he could look to drive to the basket, get and ones, get layups, just excel, make a jump shot. If he is guarded by James Harden, I think that'd be best case scenario. People might suspect that he's guarded by Chris Paul. I don't really care though. I think that he's still in a good spot regardless. I don't know if Chris Paul's going to look to guard LeBron. I don't think he guards LeBron, but I think it probably will be Thomas, just thinking about it. But I still like Thomas at that price for a low ownership. Why not play him? It's not like he can't exploit a matchup against Chris Paul. And I also like, I think people might look to go to Channing Frye. I get it. I don't trust him. I don't know how else to say it. He's kind of got to get really hot from shooting the ball, and then he could meet value. But I think Bam Bam, Olynyk, Spates, I think they're all better plays, honestly. Spates is a little more expensive, so is Olynyk. But if you're making multiple lineups, I think that in a big field GPP, I think Fry's a good pivot to those guys. But if you're making 1 of 3 lineups, I don't really love it. I just think he's really relying on the shot. Yes, this is a good spot, but I'm probably going to pass. But I'm slightly considering him. What else? So I think Ryan Anderson's in play, a road game. The joke about Ryan Anderson, again, he shoots better on the road than he does at home. It's not a fluke thing. There's a lot of data to back that up. So I think he's in play for making multiple lineups. And then I also like James Harden. I think that there's enough value on the slate to pay up for him. I also think there's enough value to pay up for LeBron James. Both guys are in good spots. Play them both if you can, if you're making multiple lineups. I think that these are 2 studs that we could pay up for that are in good spots. I think this game will be competitive. I think this game could go back and forth and score a lot of fantasy points. So I like this game a lot. Probably my favorite game to target on the main slate. And then Capella, a little too pricey. Paul is probable, but it looks like he's going to play. So just, I guess, double check that before lock. But if he's out, I guess that makes IT more in play, but I'm probably going to play or look to play IT regardless. So there you go. Next game, another interesting one. We've got New Orleans taking on Minnesota. Mirotic is now on New Orleans. Jameer Nelson is out of there. He's on Chicago. So Chicago, I believe, got Nelson and they got somebody else, but they got rid of Mirotic. So Mirotic is on Pelicans. I think we could look to play Mirotic. It's similar to the Blake Griffin thing the other day. People might have been scared off because they're like, oh, I don't know what the scenario, what they're going to look to do with him. I mean, they went out to get this guy for a reason. They want to play him. Boogie Cousins isn't there. They need the big guys to excel for this team. This team's still in the playoff mix. I think he will start. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think he'll be ready to go. Rondo's the point guard. He's played with Rondo before, so I like that. I like Rondo too, 4,600. If he plays the minutes, I think he'll crush value. It's just will he play the minutes? I'm willing to take the risk. He's another point guard that I alluded to. Price way lower than Peyton and some of these other higher price guys that people might pay up for, but could outscore him. He just needs the minutes. I shouldn't say 100% confidence, but I'm fairly confident that if he gets the minutes, he will crush value. He's 4,600. Rondo's a triple-double threat. Hasn't shown much of that this season lately, but I think he can still get there. Steals, blocks, assists, rebounds, points. He does all that stuff. So I like Rondo here. Drew Holiday priced a little too much for my liking. I actually prefer the shooting guard on the other side of the ball, Jimmy Butler. New Orleans is just a team we want to attack, right? Like, they play fast and they play bad defense. We see time after time guards and big guys even crush value against this team. This is a team we want to attack, and I don't know if everybody's caught on to that. So Butler's in play. I think I was looking into this data the other day. I'm under the impression that he plays better at home than on the road. They're at home today, and he's priced below 9K, so I like both of those things. And Towns is another guy I think is a good pivot to Jokic, who I think will be more popular. He's priced below 9K. I like that. Wiggins, if you're making like 20 lineups, you could throw him in one. Same way I feel about Teague. I just don't think that their usage is all there. I think that they're trying to work Butler and Towns into the mix more. And then Taj Gibson, I like him over the two other guys that I had mentioned. He's priced cheaper. This is a matchup he could excel in. Maybe him going up against Mirotic motivates him. Who knows? But I think he could do well in this matchup. I like him better than the other two guys, but I like Butler and Towns a lot. So overall, a good game to target. Both those games that I just talked about, I definitely want some exposure to them. Next game, we've got Golden State taking on Denver, a game that I think will be probably the most popular on the slate. Both teams are fairly fast in pace. This game's in Denver. I'm not too worried about that, though, because Golden State is not on a back-to-back. Don't believe so. No, they're not. Yeah, they're not on a back-to-back. I didn't think about that. No, they're not. So, yeah, good game to target. I don't know if it's better than the other two we just talked about, but I think it's worth talking about. So, Curry and Durant, I think, are a little too pricey for my liking. I prefer the studs that we talked about in the Houston-Cleveland game more. And Jokic is in play too, but I don't know if he's going to make the cut for the one lineup that I run. I'm not sure yet. I think he'll be extremely popular, and I like a pivot to him on the other side of the ball is Draymond Green. He's priced $1,000 cheaper. Green crushed the matchup against Denver the last time too. Green's, we kind of need to worry about him getting a technical foul or thrown out of the game, but when he's out there and the game's competitive, he has the upside for sure. He's priced below 8K. He gets steals, blocks, rebounds, points, all that stuff. So I like Green. I also like Thompson too. Thompson's 6,400. He's a little too cheap for his upside. I just think that there's a lot of mispricings in this game. Jamal Murray even took 23 shots last game, 6,500. I like that a lot about him. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. We could look to go to him. Also, I really like the price on Gary Harris. 5,700 is just way too cheap. I don't know if many people look to go to him because they'll maybe see the matchup against Klay Thompson, maybe look at his game logs. They're a little volatile, but that's way too cheap for Gary Harris. I like him a lot. He's priced below Will Barton, too. Will Barton, I'm going to pass on. I think that ship has sailed. Everybody was on him the other day. He didn't crush. He kind of just met value. If you had him in your cash games, you were happy, but not if you were playing tournaments. And I also think we could look to go back to Trey Lyles here. I think he's sneaky. People will look at his last game and go, oh, he didn't do good. He shot for 1 for 7. It just wasn't it wasn't an ideal matchup for him. OKC's a tough defensive team. So I definitely think we could look to go back to Lyles. I like him for a low ownership. I like him in that 4-game slate especially. I don't think many people will look to go there, but I like him there too. And yeah, what else do we have here? I think that covers pretty much it. Next game. A game I don't imagine we spend a lot of time on. Same thing about the next game. We kind of got the good games out of the way, but here we go. We got Utah, San Antonio. I'll just keep this short and sweet. Don't play this game. These two teams play really slow in pace, really good defense. Just don't play it. I don't. Even the pricing on this game, just there's nothing that jumps out. I mean, if you play it and you win a tournament, good on you. But I don't see the upside in this game. I'm just gonna pass. I like the other game that we're going to talk about here in a little bit more, not by much though. Dallas taking on Sacramento. Sacramento playing on a back-to-back. That worries me a little bit about the veterans. The statement that was said about a month ago, that's still in play. They didn't say that that's not going to happen. So Zebo played yesterday. He might sit here. I think it kind of depends on Cauley Stein. Right now he's probable. So I have to think if he plays, there's a decent chance Zebo sits. So I like Cauley Stein actually a lot. I think he's another 6,300 might be a little too cheap for him, especially if Zebo sits. Skal Labissiere is still out, so he should see a lot of the big man minutes. Dallas not good at defending centers. Give up a lot of rebounds. So I think this is a matchup Cauley-Stein could excel in. He's one of the higher usage guys on the team. He's probably my favorite play in this game, honestly. Like, nothing else really stands out to me. Fox is a little too cheap. I don't like that he's 6K now. He's not 4,900 anymore when we were playing him. If you're making like 20 lineups, you could throw Buddy Hield in one. He could, same thing I said about him before. Maybe he gets hot, makes a ton of shots, but not really liking a whole lot else. Yeah, and that'll pretty much do it for the slate, honestly. If you guys are playing MMA, NBA today, good luck. I know I'll be sweating all three slates. I'll be playing all three. So if I'm in the same tournament as you, good luck. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else to say. Tomorrow, I will look to release another pod or a video. Release it on my YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys do well, and that is all I have to say for today's slate. Good luck on your contest today, guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.